Welcome to Cave and Circuit, Philosophy for the Age of Artificial Minds. Today, we enter Dune, Part 1. At first glance, Dune looks like a familiar myth. A noble boy leaves his ocean planet, enters a desert planet, discovers strange powers, meets mysterious warriors, sees giant worms, inhales magical space cinnamon, and slowly becomes the chosen one. Basically, Space Jesus, but with better cheekbones and much worse hydration. But that summary is the trap. Dune is not really asking, how does Paul become the Messiah? It is asking something darker. What kind of world has to exist for a Messiah to become believable? In this film, small details are not trivia, they are evidence. The glass of water, the stillsuit tube, the insect-like aircraft, the impossible buildings, the voice, the sandworm rising like a god with dental problems. All of them point to one hidden engine. Dune, Part 1, is not the story of a chosen one being discovered. It is the story of a chosen one being manufactured. The first clue appears before Paul even enters the frame. Most hero movies begin with the hero. Dune begins with Chani. Her voice opens the film over Arrakis, spice harvesters, Harkonnen soldiers, Fremen attacks, an occupied planet waking up under another empire's boot. That matters. The film does not begin inside Paul's destiny. It begins inside someone else's colonization. But then that political wound enters Paul's mind as a dream. Before Paul understands Arrakis, he sees Chani. Before he knows the Fremen, he receives fragments of their suffering as prophecy. That is the first great trick of Dune. Other people's history starts becoming the raw material of Paul's myth. His visions look spiritual, but they are also invasive. He is not only seeing the future, he is turning someone else's struggle into his own personal trailer, which is, honestly, a very aristocratic thing to do. Even House Atreides is caught in this contradiction. Duke Leto is honorable. He wants to rule better than the Harkonnens, but he still wants desert power. He respects the Fremen partly because they are people and partly because they are useful. Dune does not only show evil exploitation, it shows noble exploitation, the kind that arrives with moral speeches and beautiful coats. Then comes water. On Caladan, water is everywhere. Oceans surround the Atreides home. Water is so normal that Paul can treat a glass of it like a training prop. Jessica tells him to use the voice, not on the glass, because the glass cannot hear him, but on her. So the future Messiah's first supernatural training session is basically, "Mom, give me the water." It is funny, domestic, almost silly. But on Arrakis, the joke becomes theology. Water is no longer a drink. Water is ethics. Water is class. Water is survival. The stillsuit turns the human body into a recycling system. Breath, sweat, moisture, waste, everything returns to the body. It is not really a costume. It is a philosophy of survival. On Caladan, the body is private. On Arrakis, the body is infrastructure. You do not simply live in the desert. The desert redesigns you. Even grief has a water cost. In most films, crying means emotional release. In Dune, crying is a financial decision. This is why the Fremen feel more real than the Imperial houses. Their culture is not decoration. It is ecology turned into law. Meanwhile, the Empire arrives with machines. The Ornithopter is not a sleek spaceship. It flaps. It is a dragonfly with military funding. In most science fiction, flying vehicles symbolize escape. In Dune, they symbolize extraction. The Ornithopter copies nature, but it does not belong to nature. It hovers over Arrakis like an expensive mosquito, looking for the universe's most valuable substance. The Empire becomes insect-like, landing, drilling, sucking, leaving. And then, Arrakis responds. The sandworm arrives. The obvious reading is giant monster, and when a 400-meter mouth opens in the sand, giant monster is a reasonable first draft. But the sandworm is not really a monster. The sandworm is the planet's unconscious. When the harvester digs spice out of the desert, the worm rises like an immune response. The empire has ships, shields, soldiers, aircraft, and political authority. The planet has a mouth, and the mouth wins. Spice is not just a commodity. It is a drug, a fuel, a political resource, and a doorway into altered consciousness. In other words, the universe runs on powder. Every empire needs a fuel source. Dune asks what happens when the fuel source is also sacred.
But Paul is not empty when he arrives. He is already the product of systems. The Bene Gesserit voice seems like magic. Someone speaks and another person obeys. But look carefully. The voice does not move objects. It moves people. Jessica cannot command the glass. She commands Paul. The voice is not telekinesis. It is human interface design. Language optimized until it becomes control. And this is where Dune becomes strangely relevant to the age of artificial minds. Dune is a world without thinking machines. Civilization has rejected artificial intelligence, so it trains human beings to perform machine-like functions. Mentats become computers. Bene Gesserit become behavioral engineers. Guild navigators become prediction engines. The Empire does not use artificial intelligence because it has made intelligence artificial inside the human body. Paul is dangerous because these systems converge in him. Noble heir, political asset, Bene Gesserit experiment, dreamer, son, weapon, and scared teenager. That last part matters. Underneath the myth, Paul is a boy realizing that every institution in his life has prepared him for a role he did not choose. His mother loves him, but she also trained him. Jessica wants to protect Paul from the system, but she is also one of the systems that produced him. That is not hypocrisy. That is tragedy. Then comes the jabbar test, a box of pain, a needle at the neck, and a woman asking whether Paul is human or animal, which is a very intense way to meet your mother's boss. The test seems to measure humanity, but Dune wants us to distrust tests. Who designed the test? Who gets to define humanity? Who stands outside the pain holding the needle? The test does not simply discover what Paul is, it produces the category it claims to measure. Paul's visions are another kind of test. He sees Chani, war, death, and a holy conflict spreading in his name. But the visions are not clear instructions. They are fragments, emotional flashes. Paul does not receive the future like a document. He receives it like a movie trailer. And trailers do not explain, they manipulate attention. So Paul is not simply seeing destiny, he is being edited by it. A prediction can become a prison if it teaches you which future to fear, which future to desire, which future feels inevitable. That is why Dune speaks to our present. We live surrounded by predictive systems that do not just predict what we will do, they shape the environment in which we decide. Paul is the mythic version of that problem. If you can see possible futures, are you freer? Or do the futures begin choosing you?
The final proof comes with Jamis. In Paul's visions, Jamis appears almost like a guide, but in reality, Paul kills him. The future was not simply false, it was symbolic. And that is dangerous. Because when reality arrives, people die literally, while prophecy explains them metaphorically. Paul's duel with Jamis looks like a coming-of-age scene, but it is darker than that. It is the first human sacrifice paid into Paul's legend. He enters Fremen society through death. His identity is not discovered, it is purchased. And waiting for him inside Fremen culture is the most important system of all: prophecy. The Fremen recognize signs in Paul and Jessica. Some see him as the Lisan al-Gaib, a messianic figure from the outer world. But Dune's terrifying idea is that this belief did not appear naturally.
The Bene Gesserit have seeded religious myths across vulnerable societies as a survival tool for their own members. Paul does not arrive in an empty desert. He arrives in a world where the software of belief has already been installed. That does not make the Fremen foolish. It makes the situation tragic. Their hope is real. Their suffering is real. Their need for liberation is real. But the language of their hope has been manipulated by an outside power long before Paul arrives. This is the hidden engine of Dune. Myth is not powerful because people are stupid. Myth is powerful because it gives pain a shape. And once pain has a shape, someone can use it. By the end of Part 1, Paul has not become emperor. He has not led a revolution. He has not even fully become Muad'Dib. But the machine has started. The water economy, the ecological system, the colonial occupation, the Bene Gesserit breeding plan, the planted prophecy, the political betrayal, the visions of war, all of it begins to converge on one body. A teenage boy becomes the interface through which massive systems speak. That is why "this is only the beginning" is not just a promise of adventure. It is a warning. The myth has booted up. Dune feels real because it understands that legends are not born from magic. They are born from infrastructure, from water rules, from language, from tests, from resource extraction, from predictions, from stories planted before the hero arrives. A normal hero movie tells us the chosen one is special. Dune asks who benefits when everyone believes he is. A messiah is never only a person. A messiah is a system that has found a face. And once the system has a face, people can love it. They can follow it. They can kill for it. They can call it destiny. Because the scariest thing about a manufactured myth is not that it is fake. The scariest thing is that once enough people live inside it, it becomes real.